Mastering error reduction strategies. We're flying blind without error metrics, courting catastrophic failure. Why is it essential to determine the current level of errors in our organization, and what metrics or key performance indicators do we use to accurately measure and quantify this level of errors? As I sat in the conference room, surrounded by the leadership team of a manufacturing company, I couldn't help but think about the weight of their challenge. They were struggling to reduce errors in their production line, and it was taking a toll on their bottom line. They had tried various strategies, from retraining staff to implementing new quality control measures, but nothing seemed to be making a significant impact. I listened intently as they shared their concerns and frustrations. It was clear that they were committed to finding a solution, but they were unsure of where to start. I nodded sympathetically, knowing that I had been in similar situations before. It's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day firefighting, but sometimes you need to take a step back and assess the bigger picture. What's the current process for reporting and tracking errors? I asked, scribbling some notes on my pad. The team looked at each other uncertainly, and one of them piped up, "Well, we have a system in place, but it's not very effective. Errors are reported ad hoc, and we don't really have a centralized way of tracking them." I nodded thoughtfully. This was a common problem. Without a clear understanding of the current state, it's impossible to develop an effective strategy for improvement. Let's start by mapping out the current process, I suggested. Let's identify all the touch points where errors can occur, and who's responsible for reporting and tracking them. Together, we spent the next few hours whiteboarding the process. It wasn't pretty. There were multiple silos, with different teams and departments working in isolation. Errors were reported through various channels, from verbal reports to written logs, and sometimes even just through email. It was a mess. But as we worked through the process, something interesting started to emerge. We began to see patterns and trends that hadn't been apparent before. Certain machines were prone to breaking down, certain staff members were more error-prone than others, and certain shifts had higher error rates than others. This was the aha moment. By understanding the current state, we could start to identify the root causes of the errors. We could see that it wasn't just a matter of staff incompetence or carelessness. There were systemic issues that needed to be addressed. Next, we started to develop a new error tracking system. It was simple, but effective. We implemented a centralized database where all errors were reported and tracked. We established clear protocols for reporting and escalating errors, and we identified key performance indicators to measure progress. But here's the thing. Error reduction isn't just about implementing new systems and processes. It's about changing the culture of the organization. It's about creating an environment where staff feel comfortable reporting errors, where they're encouraged to speak up, and where they're not afraid to admit mistakes. As we rolled out the new system, we also launched a training program to educate staff on the importance of error reduction. We encouraged open communication and transparency, and we recognized and rewarded staff who reported errors. It wasn't easy, of course. There was resistance to change, and some staff members were hesitant to adapt to the new system. But with time, patience, and persistence, we started to see results. Error rates began to decline, and productivity started to increase. As I looked around the conference room, I could see the sense of pride and accomplishment on the faces of the leadership team. They had taken ownership of the problem, and they had worked together to find a solution. It was a small victory, but it was a significant one. They had taken the first step towards operational excellence. Throughout this process, I couldn't help but think about the moral imperative of error reduction. It's not just about saving money or improving efficiency. It's about doing the right thing. It's about taking responsibility for our actions and having the courage to admit when we're wrong. As I packed up my notes and prepared to leave, I felt a sense of satisfaction. This was what it was all about, helping organizations to become better versions of themselves and making a positive impact on the world. Determining the current level of errors in an organization is a critical step in implementing error reduction strategies as part of operational excellence initiatives. This involves conducting a thorough analysis to identify and quantify the types and frequencies of errors occur in the organization. This can be achieved by gathering data on the number of defects, failures, or mistakes made during a specific period. One key metric used to measure the level of errors is the defect rate, which is calculated by dividing the number of defects or errors by the total number of opportunities or units produced. For example, if a manufacturing line produces 10,000 units per month and 200 of them are defective, the defect rate would be 2%, 210 thousandths. This metric provides a clear indication of the organization's performance in terms of quality and reliability. Another important metric is the first-time quality (FTQ) rate, which measures the percentage of products or services that meet customer requirements or specifications without the need for rework or correction. For instance, if a software development company delivers 100 software releases per quarter, and 90 of them meet customer requirements without the need for rework, the FTQ rate would be 90%, 90/100ths. This metric highlights the organization's ability to deliver high-quality products or services on the first attempt. The mean time between failures, MTBF, is another key performance indicator that measures the average time between failures or errors. This metric is particularly useful for organizations that operate critical systems or equipment, such as hospitals or power plants. For example, if a hospital's medical devices experience an average of 10 hours of downtime between failures, the MTBF would be 10 hours. This metric helps organizations identify areas for improvement and optimize their maintenance schedules. The mean time to detect, MTTD, and mean time to repair, MTTR, metrics are also essential in measuring error rates. MTTD measures the average time taken to detect an error or failure, while MTTR measures the average time taken to repair or correct the error. These metrics are particularly useful in identifying inefficiencies in the organization's detection and correction processes. In addition to these metrics, organizations can also use the Six Sigma methodology to measure error rates. Six Sigma is a data-driven approach that aims to reduce defects or errors to near zero. The most common metrics used in Six Sigma are Sigma level. This measures the number of defects per million opportunities, DPMO. A higher Sigma level indicates a lower defect rate. Defects per million opportunities, DPMO. This measures the number of defects per million opportunities or units produced. Process Capability Index, CPK. This measures the ability of a process to produce output within specified limits. To accurately measure and quantify the level of errors, organizations can collect data from various sources, including customer feedback and complaints, internal audits and inspections, quality control checks, production logs and records, employee feedback and suggestions, supply chain and vendor performance data. By using a combination of these metrics and data sources, organizations can gain a comprehensive understanding of their error rates and identify areas for improvement. This information can then be used to develop targeted error reduction strategies and implement process improvements to achieve operational excellence.